Bruce Plourde, American Studies. Do you know how to do a close reading of literature?
When we say close reading, in reference to fictional works of literature, we already know that the richness of a short story, say, or a novel, will lead us through a plot, toward a crisis, and then a resolution of that crisis. We expect that from fiction, and that's the pleasure in it. We get to spend time in another place with characters that we get to know. But a close reading of fiction means that we dig in deeper, beyond what lies on the surface, and look for the nuances of the work. Literature is meant to affect us on many different levels, and literature students become accustomed to seeking out the richer meaning that a narrative can contain. The surface level is fine, but good literature should be richer than just the plot. The complexity is what stays with us when we read a good book, and even long after we have put the book down. As an example, let's take Stephenie Meyer's novel Twilight. Maybe you've read it or seen the movies, or if you don't want to admit to it, maybe you know somebody else who has read it. This is a novel from the young adult genre, and it's often regarded as a very light and insignificant novel. It is certainly not great literature, and I would never argue that it is. However, Twilight and books like it are gateway novels that get young adults reading. Twilight, like other novels in this genre, also answers a call by exploring issues important to a selected audience. This novel follows a young woman who finds herself in a new town and a new high school without any friends or any way to get into the cliques. She seems to be a loner, but she becomes attracted to another loner, Edward. We soon find out that Edward is a vampire, one of the immortal walking dead who has superhuman strength and sparkles in the sunlight. This novel, then, is for all the teenage girls who may feel like they are loners or outsiders. It's also a novel for young women who are looking for a protector, someone to watch over them and keep them safe, even when they're asleep. And finally, it's a novel for young women who want to find true love and to have the kind of love that is forever and never dies. Edward serves all three purposes for Bella, so it's a novel that has broad appeal for a given audience. And just because it's a young adult novel doesn't mean that it's without depth. Surely there is a plot line that follows Bella and Edward as the romance progresses, leading to the crisis of another vampire who wants to destroy Bella, and finally the resolution in which, well, I don't want to spoil it for you. But even this book makes use of some literary features. For example, she leaves her mother's house to live with her father. Her mother lives in Phoenix. Now, do you know of any associations that have to do with that city? You might recall that a phoenix is a mythical bird from Greek legend that is reborn through fire. A phoenix is a bird that lives for a long, long time, and then when it finally dies, it bursts into flames. From the pile of ashes arises a new phoenix. So a phoenix is often associated with rebirth or with new beginnings. Incidentally, Phoenix is where Bella meets her fate in the novel, but I won't spoil it for you. Her father lives in a town called Forks. So if we see her mother's city as symbolic of something, could we see Forks as symbolic? A fork is an eating utensil, but it's also a choice, like a fork in the road. And then there's Bella herself. The name Bella suggests beauty, but it's her last name that seems to resonate symbolically. Her last name is Swan. Do people usually have any connotations with the idea of a swan? And could we impose those connotations upon someone whose last name is Swan? And what of Bella's pickup truck? When she moves into her father's house, he presents her with a pickup. It's not new. In fact, it's quite old, but it's new to Bella, and she loves it at first sight. What she loves about it is that it is so sturdy. She says about it this: it was one of those solid iron affairs that never gets damaged. the kind you see at the scene of an accident, paint unscratched, surrounded by the pieces of the foreign car it had destroyed. Symbolic? Bella is attracted to it immediately because it's very old, but very tough, and will never get damaged. In fact, it's the perfect vehicle for her because it will protect her. Does that description sound like anything or anyone else in the novel? Even in the act of describing the truck, the author presents us with foreshadowing of the main character to come, Edward, the guy who is very old, who is solid, who is tough, and who is protective. So again, I wouldn't suggest that Twilight is a great work of literature. No, no, no. But it has a bit of depth to it, and it makes use of some literary features such as allusion, symbolism, foreshadowing, and personification. A good student of literature would hopefully pick up on those literary cues and would have a richer reading of the novel as a result. A close reading of a work of fiction means looking for the various ways in which the author adds depth and meaning to the plot. That close reading involves our own experiences, as well as the empathy that we would extend to others, such as a group of young girls in a high school. It also might call upon our prior knowledge, or it might expect from us a bit of research. In any case, we do a close reading of a work of fiction so that we can experience the richness of the work of literature and, in a way, make the story an event that we can carry with us into our future lives.
And that's how you would do a close reading of literature.
It's amazing.